Hello, my name is John Abiona. I'm 23 years old and I'm the Stephen Lawrence training reporter at the Daily Mail. I was 16 and I decided that I really want to try and have a go at journalism, and I stumbled across one night in my bedroom this summer school called the Young Journalists Academy. It was a week-long experience in Canary Wharf, meeting industry figures, and it was great. By the end of it, I was offered a day's work experience at Metro, and I had that day's work experience, and then I was actually had a byline, my first byline in the paper, and fast forward 6 years later, my first full-time job was at the Daily Mail. The story that I'm most proud of was one that I recently worked on with the Homes for Ukraine refugee appeal. That was one of the last stories that I wrote on when I was on the newsroom in the news desk. And essentially what we did as the Mail, we set up an email inbox asking people, our Mail readers, if they wanted to house a refugee, and it was great just to see the generosity of people, sort of all the different reasonings. Some said that they can remember as grandchildren sort of fleeing war, and others had family, tracing back their family roots to those who sort of fled places like Siberia. So just seeing how humble and generous people were, and sort of saying, we know there's not a lot we can do, but this is something very small we could do. So my job was to sort of look at the inbox and reply to as many people as I could, and there were more than 200 people involved. So it was a really, really humbling experience that, despite the tragic circumstances which has happened in Ukraine, that there are so many people willing to help. I've been really fortunate to have so many people who have helped me throughout my journey so far in journalism, but my parents, above and beyond, their support has really, really kept me grounded. My mother as well, she used to say this phrase when I was doing my master's. She said, "Son, keep your eye on the goal," and just sort of helped me to keep focused in what I was doing and trying to achieve. And my father as well, he's played a really, really great part when I actually joined the Mail. So one of the jobs I was sent out on was to go and interview someone, and my dad actually drove me right up to the place. So while I was in the car sort of prepping for the interview, and it's just sort of been really inspiring to see the way that they've gone above and beyond just to help me as well in the very early stages. A story I wish I worked on would have been reporting on the war in Iraq. I watched a movie called Shock and Awe, and it featured Ron Strobel and a few other journalists from a US bureau, and what they did, they sort of uncovered things to do with weapons of mass destruction. They were courageous in their reporting and the way that they found sources as well. I think it really speaks testament to the fact that reporting, you do have to really persevere and be bold in what you do. A story that always sticks to mind was when I was doing work experience a few years ago. It was during the summer heatwave, and I was asked to actually go on the London tubes and actually hold some thermometers to my head. So I had to go buy a couple of thermometers, and sort of had sweat dripping down my head, and sort of had to take thermometers and check the temperature. And I also had a photographer with me as well, so we were sort of snapping on the tube, on the underground, and you have this nice mix of people trying their best not to stare, and others sort of thinking what's going on. I'm really optimistic personally about the future of news, as we've seen with the circumstances such as the war in Ukraine and also the pandemic, that people do care about trusted news, and journalists, we do have a really important role to play and to be as accurate as we can. I do think there'll be a couple of challenges though, still, to ensure that we have press freedom in areas when it comes to sources as well. There's been criticisms about the way anonymous sources are used, and also given police powers and the ways in which sometimes journalists are sort of pressured to reveal their sources. Well, I think that's something that we'll have to fight to ensure that we have greater press freedom in that area. I think we're seeing a greater shift towards ensuring that newsrooms are more diverse in terms of the reports and people that we bring in. We want to ensure that we reflect society as well as we can. Journalism matters to me because first and foremost, it's all about people. I've always been fascinated by just the way you can meet so many different people from varying backgrounds as well, and everyone literally, I know it's a cliche, but everyone has a story to tell, and I think the best stories come from hearing first-hand accounts, and the flow of information is so important.